Welcome to our first podcast, and it is called The Talentless Fool Who Won't Stop Talking. Today we cover Meghan Markle's bullying 5 a.m. tantrum trauma, what just happened with Kevin O'Sullivan. Kevin is an elderly looking man. He appears to be paid a lot to spew this information about Meghan Markle. We are going to debunk the top segments he covers about her. So join me as we discuss Mr. Kevin Sullivan in a podcast that calls out the hypocrisy, the spin, and the absolute nonsense coming from people who wouldn't know talent if it smacked them in the face. Today we are diving into yet another Meghan Markle hit piece, this time a 19-minute ego trip from people who have no problem cashing checks off her name while calling her irrelevant. Funny, right? If Meghan is so finished, why are they still talking about her? Because, let's be real, without Meghan Markle, these so called journalists would have nothing to write about. Let's break this mess down piece by piece. The first thing he discusses is the high Hollywood price of toxicity, or the lies the British press sells. So they claim Meghan is toxic and the Vanity Fair shredded her reputation. Just for context, Vanity Fair recently submitted or published a 8,000 word article against Meghan Markle with unnamed sources. Camilla Tomney on social media gleefully declared that she wrote it, so we know the source. Um, Let's be clear. What Vanity Fair actually did was publish a long winded article full of anonymous, unverified gossip. Meanwhile, the same outlets that spent years shielding Prince Andrew, are suddenly obsessed with moral purity when it comes to Meghan. This is the same media machine that ignored Prince Andrew's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, but they will write 8,000 words about Meghan supposedly being a bad boss. Let that sink in. Now let's talk about what's actually happening in Hollywood. Meghan is popular. She attended Kerry Washington's birthday party. She has a Netflix cooking show launching on March 8th. She's crashing websites, selling out dresses in minutes. Every single designer she's ever worn, has sold out. Abigail Spencer, her longtime friend and co-star, recently spoke about how generous and kind she is. Meanwhile, the people calling her toxic are what? Sitting in newsrooms, foaming at their mouth because she won't give them access. Sounds like bitterness, not journalism. Harry and Meghan Tragedy Vultures is the name of his um, segment, one segment that he covers. And we say, oh, here we go again, calling Meghan and Harry disaster tourists for showing up at a California wildfire site. Let's set the record straight. Meghan is from LA. The fires were in her home state. Celebrities across Hollywood went to help, but of course, only Meghan and Harry get labeled grifters. Where was this outrage when Prince William and Kate did a full blown PR tour at a hospice in the middle of a cancer crisis? Where was the outrage when Kate edited a Mother's Day photo and Kensington Palace doubled down on lying about it? Where was the outrage when Prince William is using his helicopter that cost $1,000 on each trip, wasting money and resources? Where was the outrage then? But no, Harry and Meghan are handing out supplies. That's the real crime. Maybe the problem isn't Meghan and Harry showing up. Maybe the problem is that they make the rest of the royals look lazy in comparison. Then he takes a big thing about how Meghan and Harry are trashed in Britain, except they don't live there anymore. So here's a question. Why do these British tabloids spend so much time obsessing over two people who no longer live in the UK? If Meghan and Harry are so despised, why do their names sell millions of newspapers? Because the reality is, they are still the biggest stars the monarchy ever had. The royals need Meghan and Harry to be the villains because it distracts from their own failures. It distracts from Prince Andrew, from William's rumored affair with Rose, his pegging habits, the helicopter I already mentioned, his failing marriage with Kate, from Kate's disappearing act, from, Kate's cancer fraud, from Charles taking millions from shady Saudi donors, from Kate's repeated attempts to rebrand herself. If the British press had real journalism left in them, they'd focus on those things. Instead, they're still whining about Meghan drinking lattes in California. Meghan the Tyrant Bully, a story that has been debunked over and over. It's exhausting how this claim keeps coming up. Let's go over the facts. The bullying allegations against Meghan were never investigated. The so called palace report was buried by the palace. The one person who went on record about bullying, Jason Knopf, was exposed for leaking false claims to the press while working for William and Kate. And actually, guess what? William and Kate are the ones who are known to bully staff. So, guess what? The so called bully staff members were also given promotions. So, let's compare that to Prince Andrew, who settled a sexual assault lawsuit, or Kate and William, who had staff quit in droves, or King Charles, whose staffers have described him as a monster. I mean, he killed or orchestrated, the demise of Diana. So, but sure, tell me about how Meghan is the real problem. Has Meghan's cooking show been cancelled? No, but nice try. They claim Meghan's Netflix show was cancelled or delayed because no one wants to work with her, except it's premiering on March 8th. And when it does, it'll trend worldwide just like everything else she does. So maybe instead of pretending it's a failure before it's even out, they should wait and see. But that wouldn't fit their narrative, would it? So, final thoughts on why Meghan still wins. And so let's wrap this up. Every single week, these same talking heads claim Meghan is irrelevant, hated, and over, and yet they can't stop talking about her. They can't stop writing about her. They can't stop profiting off her name. Meanwhile, what is Meghan actually doing? She's out here selling out fashion lines. She's launching a Netflix show. She's thriving in Hollywood, while the British press chokes on their own bitterness. And these so-called critics, they're sitting in studios ranting for 19 minutes about a woman they claim nobody cares about. The truth is, the British press needs Meghan Markle. She does not need them. And that, my friends, is the real reason they are mad. Thanks for tuning in to the talentless fool who won't stop talking. Subscribe for more unfiltered takes, and remember, if Meghan Markle is so over, why are they still talking?